gonna say that, 'cause I say that every time. It is a good morning. It's no longer winter in Vermont. It's actually very beautiful today. Yesterday was incredibly beautiful. Not as beautiful as fall here, but it was beautiful. Wife and I took a walk, or rather a pull. So our huskies just go. Until it's the end of the walk, then we gotta go up our steep driveway, and they don't pull anymore.
You walked a mile down here.
Who can understand? I was bringing wheelbarrow loads of stone up from the lower part of my driveway. And so I hooked up the dogs on leashes to pull the wheelbarrow. And she stood atop of peanut butter. The one little one pulled like crazy. The other one did it once. The next time she was like, I ain't doing this. It ain't worth it. This isn't funny.
Figured it out.
I'm just not doing it. Whose house are you in? But anyway, so talking about confusing things, I think Dave's words from last week are prophetic in the sense of this chapter wasn't easy to read. And the sad part is, I had this book in one of my classes. I had a class in all of Lewis's books. And I had this before. And I already have notes. And I still had a hard time reading it. I'm not going to ask how many of you read it, because I know it's tough. But for those of you did, lie to me. How'd you find it? Was it an easy chapter to understand?
It was hard and it took a while.
Took
it
a
was
while.
like 20 pages or something of hardness.
Yeah, and I didn't find it like a linear progression of thought.
It was like, I don't know, like all of a sudden I thought we were talking about something and then we were talking about something else. And I'm like, okay, wait, when did that change? But
I gotta steal it.
Isn't that
The parts I did get made sense.
yeah.
All right.
Opened my eyes a little to different things.
Well, we're gonna see here as we go through it. I'm anticipating that Dave will have to finish it next week because I only went so far and I stopped. You know. Yeah. So I think the chapter title alludes to the gist of the chapter. Likings and loves for the subhuman. I never got to the subhuman part, but likings and loves. Lewis covers 4 types of loves that seem to be preparatory to these 4 types by delineating a like and a love. He makes a difference between like and love, and yet he uses them together. And I think that's kind of the gist of what he was doing. But before we get into the likes part, the loves. There's 4 types of loves that he'll speak about in this book, and I think the Bible speaks 4 types of loves. Off the top of your head, describe to me the 4 types of loves.
It's written right here.
Not on my book.
Affection, friendship, eros, charity.
Oh, you're a spoiler.
Sorry.
Okay, Smarty. Explain one of those.
Charity is giving. Giving out of love.
That's not what my notes say. I dismiss you.
Okay.
All right, everybody else, give me 4 types of loves. Just think 4 types of loves that are in your life. Everyone can answer at least one of them.
Agape
Okay, you took the easy one. What's that one?
is God.
With God? Okay.
It's all encompassing.
Between God and humanity.
Yeah.
Technically, I think agape refers to a selfless type of love. And that would be characteristic of the love between God and humanity. What about the other 3? Everyone has at least
The
one.
gift love.
Gift love. No, it's not in my notes. I
The
dismissed you
need
too.
love,
What?
the need love.
Right. But that's more into the chapter. I dismiss you. Come on. How about the love between
Husband and wife.
husband and wife? Eros love, passion love. Good one. What about
Motherly love.
love between parents and children? Called it storge, affection love. And the last one may not quite strike you as love, especially us guys. Love between
Two other people.
Like your neighbor.
two equals, right? Lewis says men, women for women. So friendship love. So affection, parents and children, friendship between guys and women, eros between husband and wife, and agape between God and humanity. Now, let's take each of these four and think of how each of these four can be warped. Right? Why would we say the word warped?
They're misused.
Misused.
There is when one is overpowering another or being
Right.
used as a.
Not yet. Not yet.
I guess
Stand
you're
by.
better at this.
Stand by. So, warped, who remembers Thomas Aquinas? Sin is what? It's not something in of itself. Think of Tolkien. The monsters in Tolkien, Lord of the Rings,
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings were what originally? They just weren't monsters.
You're a man.
No. According to the documentary I watched, they were elves.
Yes, they were.
Oh,
So they were elves who warped or perverted into monsters. So this, remember, Aquinas says that sin, evil, is a warping, a perversion of the good. Why did God create evil? I get that question sometimes. He didn't. Right? God's in charge of everything. So, warping. Let's take affection between parents and children. How can that one be warped?
So I think I said this before last week. I have to watch myself because it's not that I make my kids idle, but I will spend every ounce of my being on my children to make sure that everything's fine. So my love for them can be very overbearing and obsessive, yes.
That's very humble of you to admit that, Paul, because that's exactly what I have. Loving their children too much. And you think, how is that possible? Yeah, well,
Above God. Anytime you put something above God,
Like an idol.
it's an idol. It warps things. When God is not leading that relationship, then it's warped.
do you think mothers really say, okay, I'm going to love my children more than God?
Yes.
No. I don't say that in my head. I just think, boy, I'm gonna, you
Right.
get obsessed about making sure, I'm a little over
Possessive
possessive.
or fearful.
Yes.
Well, what
Right.
about mothers who don't know God or don't know Christ? They're already going to be emulating something that's warped.
Right. But they're not, do you think they're consciously putting, like they're
Well,
choosing
you
their
can-
children over God?
You can love a child to the detriment of the child. I mean, you can love a child to where it's no longer good for the child.
That's true.
To,
In what way?
Spoiling them.
meaning, you love them so much that, how do I explain it? It's to their detriment. It's not,
You smother them?
Or you don't let them grow, like,
you don't love them enough to let them learn to take care of themselves.
Correct.
And eventually it's not good for the child.
But that's a fine line, right? That's a very fine line
Yeah, but
between really caring and devoted and too much, and
Okay,
It's-
like the very rich man, for example, loves his child so much it gives him everything the child wants. That's not good for the kid.
really,
I don't see a thin line there. I see,
I always told my father, well, I couldn't have been Uncle Hank's son. you know, that was a mean thing to say to your father, but I was like,
Or
oh.
the parents
was
that
rich.
just went to jail for giving their kid a gun. He went in and shot all those, they didn't, there's no,
But
Okay.
if we do this to, I mean, our society seems to do this a lot to a lot of different relationships that we have. When we do for others, when they could be doing for themselves. When we are, what do you call it?
Sure.
Codependents do it all the time.
Oh, codependency. Yeah, I guess that's, yeah. What other way can affection between parents and children, what is an obvious, hideous way that it can be warped? Very hideous.
Incest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, when I was working with children many years ago, I had a child in my home who was in a situation where they were from the backwoods. And I had to learn that their societal views were very different because when a father dies, an uncle comes in, and from their religious standpoint, he takes over the household in order to take care of children. And those relationships are real warped as to where those lives come from. Do they take care of it? How far do they take care of it? So the child is loving, learns love in a very different way.
Oh,
And no, it's not.
okay, let's move on. Philia, friendship between equals. How can that, between friends, equals, how can that become warped? Obvious.
Sexual feelings.
Yeah, sexual, right? Men for men, women for women. I realize this is very controversial. So let's ask. Let's say you're having an amenable, not a adversarial, not a shouting match. Let's having an amenable conversation with a homosexual. How would you explain it to them that it's wrong? How would you do that?
Explain what? That their sexual activities are wrong?
Yeah, how would you do that? What would you say? Let's say they ask, why do you say what I have is wrong?
it's not natural.
Okay, one thing, Paul takes that angle, it's not natural.
Yeah, but
But-
they would say what it is.
Right.
They're gonna say it is
Right.
natural, and that
It's not the way God designed.
your God.
Right,
We
exactly.
have had this conversation.
Yes.
And,
this-
and they're saying that's what your belief is, and they're gonna bring up,
Right.
history says, and there are many cultures, verdicts were considered the spiritual person in our group. Those that had the spirit of both male and female, and yes, they were separate from the rest of our tribe, but they were our spiritual healers because they could see both male and female, and da-da-da-da-da.
Okay, all right, it's not natural. What is natural? God says so. Well, that's your God. You know, right? So you're coming, you can see how this conversation could be difficult, and it might be easy. Well, the Bible says so, and that cuts it. That's the end of the conversation. But in our culture, that no longer applies. That's irrelevant.
And it didn't in many other cultures as well.
Yeah. So I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying one thought is relationship, physical intimacy is not all about love. You know, love is love. It's not all about love. I've given this a lot of thought lately, and I think that's the curse of post-degree is you have all this time and now you have things running through your head. I think it's God's gift to us, physical relationship and marriage and intimacy is a gift to teach us about Him. Ooh, that sounds scary. No, in the sense, a man and a woman is alike but different, right? We're alike, but yet we're different. The French say, vive la différence. Yeah, I'll admit that. You know, when my wife walked into the trailer the first time I saw her, I didn't think, oh look, a fellow human being probably has the same ideas and thoughts. I know I didn't say that. I said, hubba hubba, What a hot tamale. I know my daughter's sitting here right now going, oh, stop that. But that's what I thought. Different. Yo. But still like. And we use, I think God gave us that to teach us we are like God, but we are not God. We are made in His image, and we share conceptual and self-conception ideas about who we are. I just don't think, the argument about elephants, I don't think animals truly think about thinking. They may think, but they don't think, I'm thinking. A human can go, I am thinking and about things. So we share that with God, but we're different. He is different from us. So one approach is, in a homosexual relationship, it's like. Yeah, I realize that sometimes there's the overbearing one, and then the weak or not dominant, really submissive one. But this is, I think, approach to take. There's a reason God created man and woman instead of, oh, the plumbing doesn't match. I think that's crass and offensive if you just throw that at them. I don't think that's the approach to take.
You believe God did that for procreation?
Do I?
You believe that was for
Ooh,
procreation?
this got sticky. Do I believe not just for procreation, right?
No, I'm not saying just for procreation, but do you believe that that's why that man and women were together for just procreation? Not just, but meaning that is why predominantly man and women were together and it wasn't set for others.
Well, of course, that's part of.
I'm as a homosexual, okay? I'm not. But I'm saying,
Yes, they would say though we can get donor banks, so there's no difference.
not throughout all of history. This is today.
Right.
I'm saying, because these were laws and these things were written many, many years ago, and now now we're here.
But we know homosexuality has existed
That's right.
before present times, right? But like in Roman culture, existed, but it was never in the limelight. It was
That's right.
kind of like accepted off to the side.
Mhm.
So, what about eros, passion between a man and a woman? How can that be warped?
When it's body and soul, when power is over one over another.
Yes, abusive, right? What I didn't know and I found out, it just boggled my mind, was, and it's not always women being abused by men. It's the other way too,
At that point.
right? And actually, I don't know about now, but when I was growing up, you just didn't hear about
That's right.
men being abused because, oh, stuff it up, man. Oh, you're a wimp. And you really don't understand abuse in a relationship if you're saying that. But the abused person in that relationship often, this part boggled my mind, will go out and find another abuser. You would think they would run from that. Why would an abused person in a relationship go out and find, not always, but often find another abuser? Why?
Low self-esteem.
Yes.
I deserve, this is the answer I got. They feel they deserve that abuse.
They don't know anything. They don't know how to.
Well, yeah, maybe they don't know it, but they feel, this is why I get a little nervy when I hear pastors go, it's, your self-image has nothing to do with being a Christian. That's repulsive. It's all about Christ. And, well, yeah, but to say, is that what you say to your children?
Have them read Isaiah. Because Isaiah is all about being comfortable in your shelters and not coming out.
Okay. I think there's a correct balance of fostering correct self-image in others and too far. I don't think we have to just wipe it out to be a Christian. Okay, abusive. I don't know why I put this. Back in my day, you would frequently hear marriage is just a piece of paper. I don't know if they say that anymore. We can have a committed relationship without that piece of paper. How would you respond to that, to someone who said that? We can just live together, we don't need to get married.
No, I agree, marriage is a piece of paper, because that's the agreement with the state, but that's not the same agreement with God.
What do you mean? What's the difference?
Marriage is not a contract, it's a covenant.
It's a covenant,
What does that mean?
it's a sacrament. It's something that you give commitment to God and you. It's between you, your other partner, and God. Now, a marriage is an agreement with your state or country or whatever it's contract so that you can have taxes and benefits or whatever. That was my big argument, or how I still feel to this day, when there's this argument about women marrying women, men marrying men. Well, why do you have to call it a marriage? You can get the same thing with a civil union. That's the same, you get the same benefits with a civil union and all of that with the state and the benefits and all of that. Why do you have to call it a marriage? Each denomination has their own set of guidelines. If you're going to
Right.
choose to do that, then go to whatever religious factor. But why push it into changing what our beliefs are? These are our beliefs. We believe it's
Okay,
the sacrament of
what
God.
would be their answer to that?
I don't really care what their answer is. This is my belief.
Granted, but if we look to understand others,
Okay.
okay, understanding does not mean agreement, but understanding means we see from their perspective to reach with compassion. What would they say? Why must they have it called marriage?
I don't think anybody really rebutted me, but that's probably because of the way it's going. I brought it.
Say nothing, say nothing, say nothing.
No, I mean, but why, well, because we want to be part of your,
Okay,
religion
that's
or your
close.
faith. And I said, well, that's fine, well, then conform to that.
Okay.
It's not much different.
All right.
Yeah, they don't want to be treated different, even though they want to be different.
I mean, these are
Okay,
your choices.
that's real close. It goes to acceptance.
Yeah.
Now in our culture, it's no longer toleration, it's you must applaud with my choices. You are not allowed to not applaud. This goes into critical theory and all that. I beat that thing. Well, agape, selflessness between God and humanity. Love between God and humanity. How can that be warped? What? How can you warp love between God and humanity?
Misunderstanding.
Misunderstanding. What do you mean misunderstanding?
Maybe not clearly understanding what God.
Okay, all right. I was thinking a little something different.
By putting religion ahead of a personal relationship with God and Jesus.
I'm going to confess to you, Karen, that I have a little pet peeve about, I see billboards, well, Christ was against religion too. No, religion means the study of the...
Well, not so
God.
much, I'm just referring to like individual religious rules that are
Okay.
set up by man. That's what I'm referring to.
Did you think that's ever happened?
You have Protestants, you have this.
Yeah, okay, even our own denomination, we have that.
What? Out!
It's
Out!
like
Get out!
There's such a thing as guidelines, not necessarily laws.
Yeah.
Not my house. Mom's guidelines were law,
Well,
Even Dad respected that. No. How about God sexually abusing humans? Who am I talking about?
Fallen angels.
Ooh, that whole Nephilim discussion, whether that was actually angels or whatever, we won't go there. But who sexually abused humanity as a god?
Satan.
Zeus. See, that's, out of the box. Now, Plato and Aristotle's,
okay, you're not talking the
That's
God,
different.
you're talking
Right.
secondary.
that's called
Type of
tricking you.
gods.
I suckered you all in. But
Ephesus.
the idea still comes. So Zeus, not Aristotle and Plato's, because they had God as a perfect being, but popular Greek gods would have sexually abused humanity.
Yeah, they didn't even sleep with their mothers.
Okay. Or how about humanity treating God like a kindly old grandpa or a best bud?
Yeah, we love him, and then we only cry out to him when we have needs.
Oh, yeah,
When
that's
our
one
needs are
way.
met, we kind of disappear for a little while until we have some more needs.
Right, or not taking God seriously.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, disrespect.
Disrespect, right? There's something that's lost from our society. Okay, let's go back to differentiating likes and loves. Now that we covered those 4 types. Lewis starts out speaking of 2 different likes. The first one is a pleasure preceded by a desire, like being thirsty and chugging a of course, for me, a diet Dr. Pepper. Ooh, boy, does that feel good? Especially when you're hot and sweaty. Oh, yeah. And the other one is a pleasure for its own sake. Describe to me some pleasures that happen as a result of a greater need or desire. Something feels good because of a greater need or desire.
Sleep.
Sleep!
That's my favorite.
I didn't think of that one. What's some other ones? I said thirst. What's some other ones?
Hunger.
Hunger? Oh, yeah. Boy, hunger. What about another one? How about cold?
Oh,
You come in and the fireplace is roaring. Doesn't it feel good? Until what?
the
Take a burn.
Until you're warmed up.
Yeah.
And then, right? What about, describe to me some pleasures that are pleasures in and of themselves. There's no really need that precedes it.
your favorite food?
That's a good close one.
Chocolate.
Chocolate. Yeah, I guess I'll have to assent to that. Because some of you chocolate people would love chocolate even if you're not hungry.
Oh, yeah.
But my grandson and I, we share a vanilla thing. Yeah. We tolerate
The
each
one
other.
he used with smell, so I'm very sensitive to smell, so if I smell something good, I love it, and if I smell something bad, but yeah, smell is
Smell, you're right. He uses the thing of a bean field. Okay, I wasn't feeling it, Lewis. But,
well, like pea blossoms is what he was talking about, right?
right, I guess.
Oh,
Yeah, sweet pea smells.
Oh, yeah,
Lilac,
sweet pea.
right now, the lilac.
Lilac. We have some of those.
Oh, it smells
You
so
want to
good.
just cut them off and take them in your house and then they die. But,
Or even like when you're hiking, you come up over and you catch the sunset at the right time, you catch the mountain at the right time, you catch something like that at the right time.
A nice back rub.
back rubs. Well, no, that would be a need.
Well, maybe for you, but right now.
I think this is going to get someplace I shouldn't go. So, a painting. A wonderful painting.
Music.
Music. I was thinking perfume, and I guess aftershave for women. I don't know if you women like go, oh, he smells so bad.
That's very important, I'll just say that right now. It smells good,
Mhm.
in my opinion, but I'm sensitive to smells.
Oh, you mean husbands shouldn't stink?
Correct.
Come in and then want a hug.
Yeah.
I don't know what she's talking about.
Just saying.
And you were a mechanic, I remember those days.
Or propane guy, forget that.
No, there's something worse, and you wouldn't want to think of it. The lab truck driver in our job.
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't.
How can you wash your clothes enough? No. They came out with a bucket to dump the lab in our airplane. Just, unscrew that. No. Okay, like I said, this chapter isn't easy to digest, so I'm trying hard to pick out his point or points about these 2 types of pleasures. Pleasure preceded by need, and what's he call it?
Appreciative.
Appreciative pleasure. All right. In one part, he says, quote, scientifically, both sorts of pleasures are no doubt relative to our organisms, But the need pleasures loudly proclaim their relativity not only to the human frame, but to its momentary condition. And outside that relation has no meaning or interest for us at all. End quote. So he's saying, I think he's talking about need pleasures. They're relative to the need. They're momentary once you satisfy them. And they have no meaning and interest at all after that. That's
They're not long lasting.
long lasting, right.
Although they can be recurring, obviously, with
That's
thirst
true.
and hunger.
Definitely recurring, right?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. So, I think these things are his points about need pleasures.
Yeah, well, there's Maslow's ladder. So there's
What?
certain-
Maslow's ladder.
Maslow's ladder.
Ooh, I heard this thing by a Christian on Maslow's, now it's wrong and all that. We won't go there. Okay, what good is it to have need pleasures? What, aren't they just a scourge
So
on
you don't
humanity?
die.
See, yeah,
What?
so you
So you don't die.
Don't
You need food and water.
That's true. You need basic needs.
Yeah, you don't die. Okay, what other?
Don't die now.
What
I still
What
need
other
to
good
die.
does it to have a need pleasure? What other good does it do? Does it teach us anything?
Well, you should have discipline in order to obtain them.
You should have what?
Discipline in order to obtain them.
Oh, discipline. Ooh, oh, I don't like that word. Oh. How about dependency?
Yes.
Preferably, you don't have to be dependent in order to get them. Otherwise, you will die.
But have you ever met someone who absolutely refused to be dependent on others?
Yeah.
Well, you're smiling. I think I should move on. How about vulnerability or mortality? I'll tell you, when I was younger, I felt invincible. 20s, 30s, I remember being in the Detroit Crew thinking, these people retiring, I'm never going to retire. You know, I'm going to work forever. You know, and, oh, I can do that. I can do that. I can make that happen. Make that happen. My poor kid.
I like how
I
we
did
did the
that to her.
appreciative pleasure can become a need pleasure with like addiction and stuff.
Oh,
Ooh.
Because you appreciate that glass of wine until you
abuse.
need
Really
that glass of
appreciate
wine.
that glass of
And then
wine.
you don't appreciate it anymore because you need it to even,
Yeah, that idea of warping again.
yeah.
You know,
I really liked that,
okay.
that example. I thought
Alright.
that was good.
That's where I think, where they say, and I have to agree a lot with what Jeff is saying, in the whole clip, when it comes to addictions, where they say at the very beginning, you need a power greater than yourself, and you have to acknowledge it, because in order to be successful in the road of recovery is to accept these things, to have that power greater than yourself. It is, you are spiritually bankrupt when you come to these places. In order to get out of here, you have to acknowledge that. And it's
Right.
almost like, without that, acknowledging that you have to find that road and find your God and find this place.
Right.
And that journey that you get there. Because you are spiritually bankrupt.
Right. It's easy if you've never been in that situation. Just snap out of it. I remember people in my years of depression. You need to just snap out and be grateful for what you got. You know, like, well, tell me how. Tell me how. That's why I'm talking to you. I don't know how. I'm bankrupt. I've done everything I know to do. Just snap out of it. You know, no. What would be a bad thing about the pleasure associated with the need being relative, temporary, having no meaning? What would be bad things about that? Lewis talked about this. Paula?
I'll just put it on the spot.
I read it, I just can't remember what it. Jeff's got his book open, ask Jeff.
I don't understand the question.
Something.
Lewis listed a mother whose children don't call her anymore.
Oh, no, yes, that's horrific.
Okay, I'm not talking,
That's why you asked.
not talking now where like they're still kind of in between children and adulthood. I'm talking about adult children who have nothing to do with their mother anymore. You know, I can remember guys saying, "Call your mother," you know, chewing out their children, "Just call your mother," you know. Yeah, or a mistress who realizes that her lover, that's what Lewis talks about, doesn't care about her. And I had this happen. I didn't bring this up. I don't know how I got into this conversation with a woman who was a mistress, and I was telling her how there'll come a point he won't want you anymore because he'll get used to you and you're no longer fascinated. And she was hurt and she couldn't accept it. I'm just giving him everything he wants. I'm just giving my total self to him. I said, that's why he will no longer find interest in you. Because men, when it's about getting what they want, the more they get used to, the less interest, you know. And like, so we talked about need pleasure and pleasures of appreciation. You could see how Lewis will connect these or translate them onto love, as in needs pleasure translates into needs love that we talked about last week, and pleasures of appreciation into appreciation love. Which love and pleasure which one of those needs love and needs pleasure or needs pleasure or appreciation pleasure and appreciation love, which one of those goes with marriage?
Both.
Alright, so this,
Both, right?
Ideally both.
Ideally both. Explain. How, okay, appreciation love. Yes, you could see that the spouse should love the other one for who they are and all that. But what about needs love? Isn't that selfish?
no, because you're there to complete each other.
Okay.
Wouldn't it be, I mean, I think, I don't know if it's Roosevelt's wife or Eleanor who wrote that you're there to lift your partner up to be the best that they can be. Because ultimately, you may think that's selfish, but, I mean, that you're being selfless, but ultimately, if your partner is being the best they can be, they can provide the best for you. So,
Okay.
if you are there to lift your partner to be the best they can be, and they are there to lift you up to be the best you can be, then together as one, you will be the best that you could be.
Okay. I think there's like a balance that God created. Yeah, we have these physical needs for intimacy from each other and other emotional needs that go to a relationship, right, in the proper way. I don't think that's being incorrect. I talked before about Roger Scruton talking about the concept of beauty, and that I've had women tell me, oh, my husband only wants me for my body. And like, what is it about me that people think they can say these controversial things that I get pulled into the conversation? But they say that, and I usually try to explain, well, sometimes it's because you don't understand your husband. Guys are very visually oriented. You know, flip a switch. Whee! You know, I'm just going to stop at that point. But Scruton talked about if a man seeks those things in any woman available or playboy, he's making a woman a means to an end. But when a husband only seeks to fulfill those things in his wife, she is the ends. So it feels to her like he's just wanting her for her body. But no, if she is the only thing that he seeks and desires and looks to, that's putting her in an elevated position of endness. Aristotle talked about that, I won't go into it.
That's assuming men know what they're looking for in a wife or not. I mean, that would be assuming if, she might be assuming or whatever, but depends on, I mean, some men are out there, they don't know what the hell they're looking for in a wife, they don't understand
some.
what a wife is.
Some. I didn't know what I was looking for. I thought, oh boy, hot tamale. That's all I was thinking.
I mean, if a guy was out there looking for a beautiful woman because he wanted a trophy wife, so to speak, okay? And that was what he was looking for the moment, because he wasn't looking long-term. He wasn't looking for where things are gonna go in the future. He was just looking to put something there to say, hey, boys, look what I got. That kind of thing. And that's all he was looking for at the moment, because that's how stupid he was.
Or he would have to grow in. He didn't realize how smart she really was until
Well, okay,
later.
no, that's your situation, okay, we aren't gonna go there. But there are many of them out there that, and then they end up with these problems later on in life and things.
I guess you're right. I wasn't thinking that. I was just thinking
So we need to teach our boys.
young men, yes, but young men tend to be
Stupid.
fiery, intense.
Well, there has to be a physical attraction before you can find out
That's true.
what the compatibility in their personality
Does it?
is.
Does most of the world operate off of that?
No.
No, most of the world operates off, I think most of the world, I don't know now, it's just arranged marriage. Arranged marriages tend to be very successful.
Yeah.
Why?
Because there's parents on the other
Commitment.
side that are looking at maybe how things should be put together
Right.
for the long haul, not just physical attraction. They're looking at the other elements that are required in marriage.
And the emphasis is on family.
Yes.
When, and this is actually changing, they say, in our culture, even our culture, marriage is becoming more about making a family than it is about finding one's true love. You know. All right, so which one, need love, need pleasure, or appreciation, love, belief, which one of those applies to agape love between humanity and God?
Well,
Oh, darn it. People figure me out. Good. Why? Why could it be both?
You need God and appreciate it.
And God needs us, right?
No.
No.
Oh, what? You mean God could have created a world without humans?
Probably would have been better for him, I'm honest. What's that?
That's close to the thought. Right? Yeah, it's called a counterfactual possible world scenario. Like God could have created a world where we didn't have free will. We were automatons and we did everything God said and wanted and we never deviated. He could do that. But like I said before, God cannot create a world. It's impossible. God can do anything. No, he can't. He can't create a world where you have free will and you do everything you're supposed to do right. It's impossible. But
Who said that?
that's logic.
It's true.
It's logic, right? God cannot,
Otherwise, it isn't free will.
there's a lot of things
You
God
just don't
cannot
choose
do.
to.
Well, that's true.
You know,
And
can't
not
create a
every
square
way.
circle and all that.
It's like abuse of free will, like we
That
just
is
took it and
true.
took
Yes.
it to the nth degree.
So God created us, I think, so we would experience that love and lateral love. I mean, and this is what's going through my mind lately, walking through airports and observing people.
Well, is that what the angels were? I mean, angels do everything for God, everything with God.
Not all angels.
Well, they aren't. Those were the ones those were the fallen. And
Right.
the fallen angels, so some would say, are demons. Or the demons.
They are demons. That's where they came from. Kind of like Tolkien's, thing. But I think God, when I was younger, I thought, well, God's a jealous God. He is a jealous God. But he's not an absolute jealous God. He allows, I thought, when I was young, loving a woman, that would be like robbing love from God. No, God's a big enough God. He says, I want you to have this. Not only do I want you to have it, then we set the bar so high that you should love that woman like
You know,
we talked about Friday, right, Dylan? How what? Right.
like you know,
He says, love her. Really, really love her. Really love her. He says, you're not stealing from me. Okay. And I think that's,
Isn't love supposed to be infinite, such as God? That's where you get God is love.
I don't
love is
believe God is infinite for a reason. He's maximal. I used the language of maximal.
You don't think God's infinite?
No. He doesn't get more and more powerful. He doesn't get more and more smart. He doesn't get more and more merciful. He is already at the point of maximally merciful from the get-go.
Maximum would mean there's a limit.
Yeah.
Infinite means there's no limit.
Yeah. He's already there. This is just the philosophy thing.
Wow.
We don't need to go there. You know, it's something me and my friend Keith have arguments until the late morning over. And like I said, I love Keith, so he's welcome to be wrong. You know.
We got a meeting.
You can only
But okay, so let's end with that. Just that God created us so we can experience the love, the whole aspect of love. He doesn't need that love. In the movie Titans with Sam Worthington, Zeus was on the edge of dying because man didn't love him or pray to him anymore. This is stories. God would not perish if we didn't love him. He didn't make us so he needed our love. Right? But he wanted us to experience love. And he gave us gave us children, friendship, spouses, so we could experience the furtherance of that love, and then hopefully translate that understanding to love for him. And this is his magnanimousness, if that's a word. So, next week, I think Dave should be moving into appreciation, pleasure, appreciation, love. Just we talked today about need pleasures, need love, and how they're both good and bad at the same time. Good parts and bad parts. Any last thoughts? Got a new understanding of love now? So you're going to go home with your friends and spouses and be all lovey and sweet?
Maybe.
Renee, you can't say anything.
She scares me. When my wife acts normal, I get scared. I'm like, who are you? Did an alien replace you? God has a sense of humor. Father, we do thank you. What a gift love is, Lord. When I watch my daughter love her son, it just touches something deep inside me. It's like it's a pure thing. And I think this is a great gift we have. A great thing. Thank you, Jesus, for loving us and not tossing us into the trash. In Jesus'